another business or someone else that you'd want to connect with after the session, which is great. I think as founders, it's important to always be scouting for opportunities and just ways to meet new people. Hi, Chiwendu. I see you put something in the chat. Nice to have you. Hi, Okechukwu as well. So if you can start putting those intros in the comments, I could highlight a few as we go along. It's just good to know who else is here. But I will just do a quick intro. My name is Nkechi Oguchi. I'm the community director here at Itana, formerly Talent City. I see a few of my colleagues are here. I just wanted to give a shout out to a few of them, let them introduce themselves whilst you're putting your intros in the chat as well. Lukman, would you want to introduce yourself? Coco, Jerry, Victor, if you just want to introduce yourself very quickly, whilst people are also putting their intros in the comments.
Hi guys. Sure, I can go first. I can see E is on the call too. Hi E.
Hey.
I'm on the call. Hello, how are you?
Hi E, nice to have you.
It's a pleasure.
Awesome.
I'm in the great state of Texas.
Oh my god.
trying to raise money for our next fund. So, but awesome. I'm extremely excited to be here.
Thank you for being here. E is a very busy person. To get him for this session was not easy, but I thought it was really important, and he agreed as well. He was so excited to do this and to impact and to be able to help founders on their journey, and I think that that's really, really great. So some intros are coming in. I can see Gwenga. Hi Gwenga, how you doing? Hi Dozier. Hi Gbemi. Hi Johannes, nice to have you. It's been a while. It's nice to actually have you here today. Hi Mitch. Hi Ayokunle. So keep the intros going in the comments. Get to connect with people. So we have a mixed audience today. Some are digital residents and some are completely like new people who follow Itana in one way or another. So I'm going to do a quick intro so that everyone is familiar with what we do. And if you have questions, you can easily just ask afterwards, and we're happy to support and to help you along the way. So a bit about Itana. Some of you may know us as Talent City. I don't know if it's possible to stop with the noise that this thing makes when people join. But that would be good. So just a little intro for people that know us or don't know us very well. So Itana actually was born from a challenge that all of us have experienced, the challenges of doing business and living in Nigeria. And we reimagined a future where these things were a bit more seamless, where you had all the tools and infrastructure to be able to live a better quality of life, better roads. The road to my house is terrible sometimes. Better road network, better internet. Right now, I'm sure my internet can go off at any point in time, but these things affect the way we are able to work. Even the governance system in Nigeria is not quite enabling for businesses and individuals to be able to live a good quality of life. So we imagined a future where these things were present, where every individual had what they needed to be able to succeed and continue to build for the future of Africa. And so we created Itana. And one of the first things that we thought that was paramount is to have a place where these builders of Africa's future could call home. And we got our first site in Lagos. So we're building out a city in Lagos that would create an ideal environment for people to be able to continue to work and to live. And you'll be surrounded by very creative and innovative people, like-minded people that are also passionate about what they're doing, that are willing to collaborate and support you on your journey. And this just seems like something that could become a model design for how we build cities in Africa just moving forward. And now we're thinking about the governance of the city as well and how that will be designed, because designing a city is one thing, but being able to govern it in a way that allows people to have equity, allow people to feel like they can contribute and be a part of the process is also very important. So we're designing a governance that allows that to function seamlessly, and then building a technology that helps people to have a great experience, helps people to connect with one another, to access services that helps their businesses, whether it's registration, filing of complaints, legal services, and any other service that they may need. The right payment infrastructure, because you know how difficult it is to move money around, even with the new CBN policy that has come up. Some of these things can actually affect the way people are able to do business. So we want to be able to create a technology that allows people to do great business, feel connected to a community of great and like-minded people. And then the most important and the most critical part of this is actually the community of people that would live and work in the city, the people that truly believe that they can make an impact in the future. And what we decided to do is to start community first. So we've been building out a community of digital residents. A few of them are here on the call today, and we are so grateful to them. Shout outs to all the digital residents that are here today. We're so grateful to them because being a first believer in anything is not easy in itself, but they are helping us design and improve on what we're doing for the next version, right? And that has been really, really amazing. Having them be a part of this journey, having them being able to give feedback, having them just follow along, right? And it has just been great. Digital residents get access to a few very important and key things. One is they get to collaborate and make input in what we're doing. So even for the design of the city, they are making inputs on what that would look like. We're creating opportunities for them to be able to meet each other, because even more important than, I think one of the most important things that we need as individuals is a community of people that can help us on our journey. I saw a tweet that someone put and said, some people have kids so that when they are old, they would have someone beside them so they don't grow old alone. But the actual solution for that is having the right community of people. These are the people that would be with you throughout your journey, throughout your life, right? So we're building out, creating opportunities for everyone to be able to meet each other, connect, and build deeper relationships. And we've seen a few of that really happening. Then also an opportunity for them to learn from innovative minds. So we've had a few guests in the past. We've had people like Dr. Ola Brown from Niger Flying Doctors. We've had MI, the musician MI, who's a creative, be a guest as well, and then just speak and teach people and answer questions and have conversations. We've had Abubakar Suleiman, who is the CEO of Sterling Bank, and today we have E, and we're coming to his session. So giving the opportunity for people to be able to learn from these innovative and creative people and have that help them, inform them, and inspire them in what they're doing. And then also the opportunity to learn from each other. We've had some of our digital residents have sessions to educate each other. We had the Nigerian Startup Act session that was led by Rosemond and Olaleye, which was really great. Had a session on building future cities with Cesare and Heba, rethinking your careers with Helen. So being able to learn from each other is also very critical. And then a few partner perks that people get access to, from co-working spaces to right now we're trying to launch this access to security service, which will be supported by SETI.io, and then health insurance by Doctor as well. So these are all things that they get to enjoy whilst the city is being built out, because we know that what we're doing is, it's really, really long term. It's long term in the design, but we want people to be able to contribute whilst we're doing this, So that's a bit about Itana. I would share a link so that you can have more information. And I would just like to invite you to become a digital resident. If you've been looking for a community that you could be a part of, that could be very impactful for you, that you'd want to contribute, or you'd like to be a part of the project as well and share ideas and share input, feel free to do that. I'll share the link in the chat, and then you can easily just apply and join. It'll be great to have you. I'll also send follow-up information with more details, and if you have questions, you can easily just reach out. So a few housekeeping before we move into the session fully. I would encourage that when E comes up to speak, you pin his frame. Is it frame? I don't know what it's called, but you pin it so that you can easily focus on him. So that's what I would advise. It allows you to be able to focus on the speaker. So when he comes, just click. There is a needle thing that is on his face. You just click on it, and then you're able to pin him. Then put questions and comments in the comment section as we go along. He'll be able to take questions and some comments as we continue, then feel free to share other inputs and ideas as he speaks. Be a part of the conversation as much as possible. So that's it for housekeeping. Then I just wanted to just talk a bit about this session. The reason we're having this session is, well, this year has been quite an interesting year. If you're running a business, so many businesses have had to take very important decisions to stay alive. And I know that looking to 2023, we thought it's paramount to be able to learn from someone who has built so many companies very successfully, even in the midst of challenges. Even, please, if you could mute yourself, yeah. So if you could, so being able to learn from someone who has been able to do this successfully a few times, I think that's a very, very important thing. He is someone that I respect so much. You know that you are remarkable when you can be identified by a letter of the alphabet. Most people know him as E, and I'm trying to get people to call me N or something, but it's not sticking so far. I don't know. Maybe there's a strategy around it. But it's really, really an honor to have you here. I'm going to hand it over to him. I always like for speakers to introduce themselves in a way that they feel comfortable with. So E, you're going to introduce yourself and then, take us through the session. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to hand it over to E now.
Thank you, Nkechi. You're so generous. It is such a pleasure, guys, to be in the community. I've sort of been following things from a little bit afar, and I'm so excited by what you guys are building. So I'm going to introduce myself in the way I feel most comfortable. Thank you, Nkechi, for the opportunity. And then do I proceed to talk for maybe 20 minutes and then let the community ask questions? Because it's really going to be, okay, so after I introduce myself, I'm going to talk for 20 minutes, and then I'll let you all ask any question, because I think that's really how we get to all the bottom of everything you're afraid of in 2023, so we can expel the fear and march boldly into 2023 like the titans we are, okay? I don't like that Itan. It's like, what? Just call yourself what you are. You're a titan, and you live in Titana. Anyway. Okay. Coco, please don't kill me, I beg. I didn't say you should call it Titana. Or I said it's Itana. I'm just saying you're Titans, okay? Not Titans. Okay. My name is Iyin. I'm the general partner of the Fund for Africa's Future. Most people know the Fund for Africa's Future as Future Africa. It's a very interesting business. What we are very well known for is providing capital coaching and community to entrepreneurs, bold, visionary entrepreneurs that are turning Africa's most difficult challenges into global business opportunities. And we back entrepreneurs that are fearless, like people who have, like people like Lukman and Nkechi and Coco, who are not afraid to build a country within a country in Lagos. That's those are the kind of people that we back, taking on $100 million infrastructure projects, trying to rewrite the rules of Nigeria in the digital free zone. And they are not afraid. They are not afraid, and they are not campaigning for anybody's approval to do it. So clearly, amazing entrepreneurs like the ones in this group. Now, my background before that was I built two companies in the middle of a recession. So the first company, well, I built more than two companies, but the two successful companies in the middle of recession. So the first one was Andela. And what many people don't know about how Andela started during Ebola. So literally, there was Ebola. They thought everybody in Africa was going to die. God bless her heart. Ameyo Adadabo saved all of us from dying. And that was when we started like Andela's big boot camp. And we had 50 people in the room in the middle of Ebola learning how to code. So it was incredible and insane at the same time. And, I mean, if you were the CEO of like a global company, technology company, and someone told you, well, look, we're going to train developers for you in Lagos, where the only thing you're hearing about them is Ebola, I'm sure you'd be like, what the heck? But that was a founding moment. And I'll talk to you about how to think about that, given that we're going into a year that might be similarly difficult. After I did Andela, we built Flutterwave, and we built Flutterwave in the middle of the 2016 currency crisis. So if those of you remember, when Buhari won the elections, there was like 6 months where he couldn't appoint ministers. And during that time, the Naira was just like on free fall. And at the same time, the government announced that they were moving 40% of all bank deposits into the central bank to create something called the Treasury Single Account. Again, it was a huge crisis. It was not the time to start a fintech company, but stupid we did it. And again, Flutterwave today is the most valuable startup on the continent. So again, that was built in a recession. So what is the general point I'm trying to make? In case I finished with my introduction, and now I'm talking, okay? And I'll talk for the next 15 minutes. The general point I'm trying to make is there is no better time to build a company, to progress in your career, to do something bold, visionary, beautiful than now in the middle of this downturn. If you're building a company, which is the perspective I generally come from, although I know our titans are from a broader, subset than just building companies. But if you're building a company, there's no other time in history where you're going to have the ability to recruit some of the best talent coming out of all these big companies that are trying to downsize. And at the same time, before, if you were great talent, you had the temptations. I call them the twin temptations of a high salary or cheap capital. You can raise money very quickly, very easily. Well, both of those don't exist now. And because both of those don't exist now, there's so many talented people who you can work with on things you actually care about that are not going to pay you a lot of money, but will when the next upturn comes. So now is if you're being laid off or you're currently starting a company, now is a perfect time to do that. That's one thing. The other thing is also during times like this, you are given the opportunity to take on a lot more responsibility because, most companies are trying to get more done with less because they have to conserve their cash. And that makes a whole lot of difference in terms of the level of responsibility you're given. Like I continually say, like I wasn't that smart, but I don't know if I would have been the perfect co-founder of Andela if Jeremy Johnson could raise more money. I think sometimes he may have opted for like an MBA, somebody with a Stanford degree, somebody that's like, more posh, lives on the island, can speak all the English. But, he just went for this street guy because, man, the guy was willing to work for free and he didn't have money for better. But we made an amazing partnership and it was possible for us to get all these really smart people to come work at Andela because of the environment at the time. People were excited to do something they loved, even if it didn't pay as much because the alternatives weren't that much better anyways, right? So just something to think about. And so if you're a talented person and you have some skills, this is the time for you to see if you can take up more responsibilities in your organization, or you can maybe advise more organizations because they will definitely need you more than they would otherwise. They can't pay for everything, so now they need to cut costs. And finally, on the point of cutting costs, one of the most vivid memories I have from building Flutterwave was that it was impossible to get a meeting with the head of e-payments at any bank before TSA happened. Because why do they need you? Like 40% of their bank deposits was essentially risk-free deposits from the government, earning them 20%. They didn't need deposits from people like me and you who sell gari and boli on the streets. They didn't need us. Government money was there until TSA. And as soon as TSA happened, there was a mad rush for deposits. Everybody wanted to get deposits. And the only way to get deposits was to actually bank real business people, not government. Right? Because government deposits were off the table. So you had to go and actually bank businesses. And if you bank businesses, you have to give them tools because they're not unlike government, businesses care a lot about value. And so at the time, I was able to get a meeting with a bank, and banks were able to actually popularize payment gateways, partnering with us because they were banking more businesses, and businesses needed more than just a coffin for their money, right? They needed tools that would help them to accept payments from all over the world so the money in their bank accounts can keep growing. Banks needed those liabilities to be able to meet their CRR. So it's like a very technical term that means the amount of money you need to have in the bank to be solvent, right? So all it was so much easier to get partners. They were looking at the cheapest way to do it. They were willing to listen. They weren't just going to listen to your idea and go and build it because they didn't have money to go and build anything. So they had to work with you. So during recessions like this, a lot of people are open to partnership. And I remember Uber, for example, they needed to start collecting money in Nigeria because it was a recession. So they needed to start collecting money in Nigeria. And they were like, well, if we need to start collecting money in Nigeria, we need to get a payments platform. And that payment platform happened to be us. So again, during downturns like this, there are opportunities for you to lower other people's costs or increase your revenues by partnering with them. So, I finished talking. I said I was going to talk for 15 minutes. So I'm going to shut up now and hear people's questions. But before I do that, I'm going to summarize, right? 2023 is a special, special time, right? You have an opportunity to build some incredible value. For those of us in Nigeria, we're going to be going to elections. And there's a lot of people who are going to be disappearing before the elections, Jackpa and all sorts. But there's an opportunity for you, particularly if you're an Itana resident, or as I prefer to call you, a Titan, which is that you have the opportunity to build in this incredible zone where all the constraints of building an amazing business in Nigeria do not exist. You can incorporate a company and not worry about taxes forever. You can earn dollars. You can get an offshore bank account. No one's going to hold your dollar or make it difficult for you to transfer it so you can pay for your Netflix or for your Amazon Web Services or whatever it is you want to pay for. And by 2024, inshallah, we're going to have thanks to Lukman, hopefully we'll have our campus ready. And a few of us can move in and start to build some incredible companies. There is no better time to build. And it reminds me actually of during the pandemic. I don't know how many of us remember what happened during the pandemic. There was all this doom and gloom, just like Ebola times. They were like, oh, Africa is going to die, blah, 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 blah. And all the capital pulled back. But then all the people that forged ahead and continued to build their companies, even though it didn't look like a good idea at the time, look at where all of them are. All of them are now the ones that are raising billions of dollars in funding, right? So again, it's really, really important for you to keep the faith, for you to understand that this is an opportunity that you are in now, and do whatever is necessary for you to come out on top. Thank you very much, and I'm going to take some questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I always like how your sessions are very conversational. So everyone put your questions in the comments. There are a few that have already come in. I'm going to call to just read a few of the questions. And then if there's someone that actually wants to speak, I think we can enable that for a few people. So there's a question from Olarumanju. He has two questions actually. He's a founder of Shoptinga, said he'll be launching in January, and he needs some funding and investors. What's the best way for him to approach this? That's his question.
I think the best way for him to approach this is to get some customers. If he gets some customers, he'll get some funding and some investors. But if he doesn't have any customers, especially now, no investor is going to look at him. So I think it's just important now, especially because of the times we're in, for you to really focus on providing a valuable service to a customer. And that valuable service, if you're doing very well, especially in these times, because A lot of VCs have a ton of dry powder. They have a lot of funding they have to deploy over the next 2, 3 years. But they can't find enough good companies with good unit economics. And the overall environment doesn't allow them to just splurge like they were doing last year. You understand? So as a result, if you want to get funding from VCs, now you have to run a sustainable business. Bringing revenue to a general extent to your top, to your revenue.
Awesome. Awesome. I think that's really good advice. I think most people forget that there's some work to be done before raising funding. But that's a great question. I'm not surprised that people asking you questions about funding and investment. I'm not surprised at all. He also has another question. He says, "How do you get partners in times like this?" Because we talked a lot about partnerships. He's asking, like, what's the best approach to also get good partnerships?
We often approach them, telling them on why it's good for us. And 10 out of 10, they don't care. So, for example, when we were building Flutterwave, right? We could have gone to the banks and been like, hey, we're trying to build an electronic payment, company, a payment company. It would be really great if you give us an opportunity to serve your customers so we can make some money and we can raise money, etc. But they're like, well, that sounds like a great idea, but I really don't care. So what should you do instead? You have to approach partnership from the perspective of not even win-win, but what's in it for my partner. So just ignore what's in it for you. Pretend like your interest does not matter and you are just working for your partner. What are you going to do for your partner? So when we went to Access Bank at the time, we said, oh, look, guys, you've got all these merchants who want to take electronic payments. Which is going to make them pay $150,000 naira and then go and recruit a very expensive developer to integrate electronic payments. And it will only be for them. Why don't we come and help you guys to implement electronic payments for all different types of payment methods in a way that the company does not need a developer. They can just have a link and they can get started. And if any merchant wants the same product, we're going to compel them to set up a bank account with you. So think about it. What are the value proposition I'm bringing in for partnership? Number one, I'm bringing in actual business. I'm helping them bring in more liabilities from their merchants. Two, I'm giving them a product they can sell to their merchants. And three, I'm giving them customers, real business customers. And then you know what I did for the revenue model? I said, you know what? I know you like money. Let me give you 70% of the revenue. I'll keep 30% of the revenue. You can see that I'm very generous. Just allow me. You keep 70%. And you know what? It's going to be in your name. It's going to be in your brand name. Not in my name, but in your brand name. They don't need to know who Flutterwave is. So by the time we stacked up all the benefits for the partner, they were like, if we don't accept this partnership from this guy, if he goes to another bank, Tawati Daro, that means that we are finished. So that's how you should engage partners. Engage partners from the point of view of what's in it for them. How can you serve them? Now, for us, we knew that if we even just got the opportunity to serve the partner, a number of things will happen. One, other people will see how we're serving them, and they will want us to partner with them too, right? And two, we'll be able to raise money because of the volumes that a bank like Access Bank can bring to us. And three, customers will trust us more because we are working with a big bank like Access Bank. They don't know Flutterwave, but they know Access Bank. At least now, then they do not know Flutterwave. Now everybody knows Flutterwave. But then they do not know Flutterwave, but they knew Access Bank. So it will give us a lot of credibility. So you need to think about it from the point of view of what's in it for your partner before you start worrying about what's in it for you. My mentor used to say, make money for your friends, and you never have to worry about money in your life. And I found that that's always the truth. If you make money, you add value to your partner, people will usually reciprocate. And if they don't reciprocate, other people like them will reciprocate.
Yeah, I think that's really amazing. Always think about how are you providing better value. Think of it from their own perspective and try to communicate like that. That's a very great question. There's another question here from um, Nicholas Azinga. He says,
Mm.
"What do you need most right now, and how can we help you?" He's so
That's
kind.
a
He's so
very
kind.
kind, very
He's
kind person.
one of our titans, as you say. We have the
Exactly,
best
one of our
people.
titans.
We have the best
I
people.
know, I know. Well, I'll be honest, what I need most right now is money so I can invest. But I don't know how much you can help me with that. That's why I'm in Texas. But beyond that, let's look for something else you can help me with. Um, I think that we're looking for people to build really impactful companies in four areas, right? As a fund. One is we're looking for people. We our core thesis as a fund going forward is this idea that Africa needs to build the foundations of a digital economy. We've gone on for too long, just kind of messing around, building nice tech companies that don't have a lot of impact, right? So we think that there's an opportunity to build a massive digital economy. And we think that there are four areas of this digital economy that must be built. The first one is talent, right? So how do we ensure that kids from the age of 7 to 17 have the digital skills and competencies to work on the internet by the time they turn 18, so they don't have to go to university? Okay. The second thing is infrastructure. How do we build infrastructure like Talent City? So you being part of Talent City is part of helping me to ensure that people who work on the internet have the best experience doing so from Africa. So they don't have to run to Amsterdam or go and get global talent visa to work on the internet, right? They can work on the internet from Lagos. Or if they want to go to global talent visa, that's okay, but they can always come back to Nigeria and spend their pounds or their dollars because we need it. Then the next one is markets, which is how do we free markets from geographic constraints? So a lot of us think that when we build startups, the startups are only useful in the country where we build them in, like in Nigeria. But what you will find actually is that even if your startup is, I make soup, right? There are Nigerians all over the world. Can't you make soup for Nigerians in Canada? Can't you make soup for Nigerians in the US or in the UK? All those people that have run away, that have jackpot, they still want to hold soup now. So can we make soup for them? So think about how can technology help make you more efficient at addressing markets across geographies, especially with the Africa Continental Free Trade Agreements. And then the final one is the environment, which is how do we ensure that as we are growing our economy, we are growing green. We don't want to be going green like US and Canada and all that. We have finished dirtying the world. We're now begging the world, oh yeah, everybody turn off your power. This and that one. No, no, no. We want to grow green, meaning that even though we don't have NEPA, we can be using independent solar, which is a cleaner source of energy, so that we can ensure that the world is still here for us to enjoy and for generations unborn to enjoy. So those are the four areas that we're very focused on. So if you know a friend or you have a friend that's building a business in these areas, you can feel free to find a way to reach us. Maybe through Nkechi, because she knows us very well. But yeah, basically that's how you can help us.
I'm here for you guys. Feel free. I'm very accessible. So we have a question from Alexander. He says his question is, how can he promote investment in the entire value chain for hardware industry components like sensors, actuators circuits, and make sure I got that right. Saying they are currently dependent on China for almost every component and sensors, etc. There
Yeah.
should be a supply chain. Uh,
Well, he has to build a commercial proposition for it by aggregating those who need those products first. So today, who is buying, like who has a marketplace where you can buy all these sensors, actuators? There's a lot of things in Nigeria that we import. We import it. I call it shonkolo shonkolo, like small small. So all of us we are going. That's why we are clogging up Apapa. We buy one container, two container. you know. Meanwhile, there's an opportunity for us to build solid scale by bringing in those things in bulk, and then we start to understand where the demand is for those things, so that we can target supply at them. So my advice would be build a community and a marketplace for people who need these products. For now, you can continue to import from China, but buy together. At least what will happen is that one day somebody will be like, man, this guy is making so many orders. Maybe we should talk to the guy. You know what I mean? And by the time you talk to them, you say, look, guys, can you come and do this thing in Nigeria? Because we cannot be paying your shipping fees, waiting 10 years before the thing gets to us from China. You understand? So that would be how I go about it if I were you.
Awesome. I know that that's very helpful. Alexander, you have your hand up. I don't know if you have a question before I take more questions. We have a few. Alexander? Maybe.
Yes, I relating to what Indy said. In terms of the market, we already have a market because for some of our products we've sold more than 5,000 units. So and there's always increasing demand. But why I ask that question is because there's high dependent on China for some of these things. So and we have capacity to also build some of these things here in Nigeria. So if we can get investment to build some of this product locally, I think it will go a long way and to help meet
So
the local.
make the case. Make the case. How much cheaper would it be if you built it locally versus import from China? If it's cheaper, some of your customers will even prepay if they need these things, and you can use their money to go and invest in making them locally, or you can use their commitment to go and meet a bank or somebody that can give you some credit to build. But it's possible once you make a good business case and everybody can see, look, the demand is steady, is consistent, is obvious. People will invest. People are looking for where to invest.
I find that that's actually
Okay.
true, that people actually are looking for where to invest. They just either they don't know how, or like sometimes there's an information gap or a deal flow gap most of the time. That's what I've
Yeah.
truly observed. Yeah.
Or a storytelling gap.
Or the storytelling gap is such a huge one.
Yeah,
It's
I
such
think
a
that's the
maybe
biggest gap. Because you
yes.
see now, he didn't make it sound like as if he has customer. Oh. He
Yeah,
did not say
yeah,
anything. He didn't say anything about 5,000 people he has sold to. He didn't say anything about that one. I'm sure
exactly.
Lukman has now PM'd him now. He's looking for where to invest.
Exactly.
I don't have money. Oh.
Lookman is a big boss. It's a lie.
Lukman is a big boss. Lukman doesn't need to have money. Lukman will just carry you to Aliko straight.
It's true. It's true. Yeah. But that's a very important one. And we have some founders in the Itana community, and I've been trying to see the best way for them to go together. Storytelling is really important. Being able to tell your story in a way that is compelling, very, very
Yeah.
important. Emmanuel, I
Well,
saw your
we
question.
have the Living Lab Accelerator that's coming up, and I think there's a meeting that we set up right with those guys with Living Lab, so that we can start to build out a program for the founders in the community. So I'm sure there's a lot coming down the pipe. For example, like we can start helping them with, the most common way I help people with storytelling is I review YC applications, because
Yes.
there's so much of your story you tell in a YC application or in a tech accelerator application. So even the way you communicate yourself and all that. And I'm going to be doing a lot of that with the Titans over the next year. So we'll be able
Exciting.
to benefit from that.
Yes, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Like they have no idea all the amazing things that are coming up. And I think that's so exciting. I will, Emmanuel, you have a question on getting across to Future Africa. So you could send me an email personally and I could help connect you. I'm gonna put it in the chat and you can just reach me and I'll help connect with you. Solomon, you have your hand up. Let's take one question and then we come to you. Adebayo is asking a few questions. He says, while the session is focused on founders, that what is your top advice for startup talent or employees, technical or otherwise, in the recent downturn? Then he also
Yes.
asks, there's a part B, which says, which type of companies do you think can weather the storm excellently? Like what industries, what profiles? And um, the third one is while you likely have a best investor to founder match, what is your ideal employee to founder matching?
Okay. Okay. There's a lot of questions there. My advice, right, is if you're an employee, the most important thing to do in this downturn is to share your learning publicly. And I don't even just think of it as building a brand, but right now you're likely take on more responsibility at work. If you were working 2 times harder last year, increase it to 5 times. Because right now, the people that will even make it are those that put in a lot of additional effort. Plus, if your effort is visible within the organization, now is the time where the reward makes sense because your leadership will be seeing those who they want to be continue to accelerate for leadership. You understand? So if I were you, if I'm working in a company, I'm going to put in more time, more hours. I won't do like all the things that I say, they fired my friends. So how do I know I'm not the next person? You understand what I'm saying? You may be, but if you actually put in the work and you have the skills, even if people fired you politically, you'll be able to get into another organization faster because of your knowledge, your willingness to push yourself, your sharing, than somebody who, got pushed out or did not even get pushed out. Maybe they still have a job and they decided to start coasting. That's the worst thing that can happen to you.
Quiet
Maybe they're like,
quitting. That's what they call it now.
quiet. Good luck to the quiet quitters. Good luck to them because now anybody that is doing quiet quitting, most CEOs will remove you because you are head count. I need to save. Before there was plenty money, so you can hire a lot of people and let people be quiet quitting. Now they will loudly wake you up. Loud firing is what they will use to respond. So my advice to you is just work a lot harder but do so intentionally, sharing your knowledge with people in your community on platforms like LinkedIn, helping others, like being an advisor to startups, because you don't know which startup can blow now.
Yeah.
You understand? Get some capital, and then they will be in a position to hire you, give you more equity. Don't optimize for financial outcome now because it's temporary. You get what I'm saying? Optimize now for equity because right now, most companies' equity is very cheap. But if they manage to succeed, if you believe in the company and you think the company can succeed, you now are going to get in very cheap and you can ride the wave with them when the market comes back up. Because this thing will last at most 24 months by the grace of God, 24 to 36 months. Because there's people that have capital to deploy. So eventually, they must come back to the market. They will adjust to the rates, the interest rate, and come back to the market. You get what I'm saying? So it's just for you to, to understand that. I hope I answered all the questions. There are many.
Well, he also asked, what industry do you think would be more resilient at times like this?
That's a good question. I think I like to focus on fundamentals during times like this. So what is fundamentals? I ask myself, if somebody doesn't have this thing, right? Or if somebody has this thing, what difference does it make in their lives? So for example, if somebody doesn't have a place to live, what difference do you think that makes in their life? You understand what I'm saying? Or in the middle of a downturn, if somebody does not have a job, what difference do you think that makes in their life? You understand what I'm saying? Or if somebody, I mean, the kind of things that I wouldn't bother with is like new fashion, fashion clothing, all that kind of stuff. Food, if somebody cannot find food to eat, what difference does that make in their lives? So I would focus on industries that are building things that are fundamental. I'll try and stay away from things that are fanciful, you know,
Just trendy things.
just stay away. Social network, trends, all this one. Just leave it. Leave it. Go and focus on the real something, you know.
Awesome.
B2B companies,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, awesome. Solomon, your hand has been up. You can ask your question.
Hey, hi, Mr. Solomon here, and
Solo, long time.
that's good now. Yeah, so my
Okay.
question is actually very simple. It's much geared towards internet, all right? So I think during the year there's been updates that Starlink is now somewhere, accessible in Nigeria. What do you think is the biggest problem to make it much easier for regular folks to be able to get access to Starlink and get away from MTN? Because some people, they cry foul at MTN sometimes is, everybody understands what's going on. So what do you think would be the best solution in terms of how we make it much easier accessible to everyday folks to be able to use Starlink?
Yeah, so I think, look, the way Starlink is very expensive, the base stations are very expensive. They're like $7,000 a piece, right? So but at the same time, it has a large coverage area. So if you have a base station, it probably covers about the same population as like a proper telco base station. So, but I think that I know they just got the license, but I think they will still need to be able to. I think the missing thing is they will have to invest a little bit in base stations. You understand what I'm saying? So they'll have to buy a lot of base stations. So they probably need like an entrepreneur or somebody that would make this their plan. And then also, with Starlink, it sometimes helps to have like a fiber backhaul as a backup because sometimes the satellite loses contact. So I think sometimes that also helps. I know of one telco or one tower company that is buying a lot of it. So it might happen maybe in the next 3, 4, 5 months. But it is the kind of investment that the average person cannot just make on their own. Except you have $7,000 that you are not using.
Maybe there's an
And we have not talked
opportunity there.
about customs. So that one is just to drop the something. You understand? So you're probably looking at like $10,000. Then you back up if you're a smart person. 15.
Yeah.
Over the year now, that's plenty money. So that's why they have not really deployed like that. But it will happen. Like Nkechi said, there's a huge opportunity there. If you people make mistake and allow me to go, I might just go and do it. So.
Don't worry, we'll make that mistake. Okay, thank you very much, Solomon. Kufure has a question. He said that he has seen incredible startups in the financial sector and how attractive fintech startups are to investors. So he said, which sector of the economy, I think has similar opportunities, and what do you advise founders to focus on in the first year of launch? So he's saying, aside from fintech, which is also a hot sector, and what's the advice for founders to focus in the first year of launch?
Yeah. Look, I don't know. I'm not a seer. I do see that, however, that industries that were previously considered unsexy, like education, healthcare, housing, they're becoming more and more sexy overnight. Most of us are kind of sworn off fintechs because we think they're all trying to solve the same problem, or they're solving a problem that a big player.
Everybody's
banking the 5 of
banking.
banking the refuse to be banked. So I think that a lot of investors probably not do fintech. The only part of fintech that we do, for example, as a fund, we only do like dollarization of the economy and asset-backed credits. So like we, for example, we won't do payments. We won't, because we've already made bets in those areas and they paid off. So what's the point of going back You understand? To go and do something that is already done. So I think for us, we're not really interested like that. But I think the education and healthcare, I think, will become more important. If people can figure things out, I think they'll
Yeah.
become more important.
I agree. I agree. It was quite
Yeah.
interesting when I know Edukoya, they were positioned as an ed tech, and then earlier
Yeah.
this year they switched to fintech. It was an interesting switch. Like I was so surprised when that happened because I do think education is going to be the future.
Yeah. It will be the future for sure. So I think
Yeah.
that's where, if you want to focus education, healthcare, things that people need, jobs, that's gonna be the future.
Johannes has a question. He says, "What were your three most important lessons while building Andela up?"
Okay. So
This is going to be a tweetable, so get prepared to tweet. I feel like we're going to be hot. So everyone.
well, I'll tell you. Okay, so the first thing I learned was it is very, very important to solve a problem completely, right? So one of the challenges that I think a lot of startups have is that they feel like the solution to the problem must be apps and APIs. And they don't want to get involved in like Andela. If you came to Andela, you will not think of Andela as the app business. Solomon was there, so he can tell you for free. It was not an app. It was not an app thing. It was, it was a real business. It's like people had to be trained. We had offices, training facilities, real things. It was not like, oh, sit down one place, do one app, and release it into the world, and everything will come to you from there. It was not like that, and it required us to like get on the streets, do evangelism. We used to do handbill. Solomon used to follow me, do handbill, give it to people on the streets to recruit Andela fellows. So that's how things start. Second of all, team matters a lot. So the founding team at Andela is perhaps one of the most impressive founding teams I've ever had the pleasure of working with. So working with the best possible people in the space that you're in is so important because you're already taking incredible risk by starting a startup at all. So why take additional risk? You understand? By starting it with people that don't know what they are doing. So you need to make sure you have a diverse team of professionals that are top of their game at what they are doing. My co-founder Jeremy, for example, he took an education company public in the US. To you, Christina was dropped out of her PhD in education at Harvard, right? Nadaya used to be one of the lead developers at B Notions, which was like a top dev shop. Bryce used to be a Google developer. I think he turned down Google to come and join us. So you need very, very good, high quality co-founders. I would say the only other, the last top lesson I learned was that it's important for you to think about your ideal customer very, very early on, So you have to be very customer focused as a startup. Don't navel gaze. As quickly as possible, find your first customer. And if you can, make it a big customer, you know what I mean, who you can serve to some sufficient level of scale. So Andela tried a lot because it had To You as one of its first big customers. So To You sort of like, had a lot of engineers he wanted to hire to do projects. So that helped us to be able to build a pretty scalable business with one customer. And then other customers saw how well we're doing there and they were referred and all that. So very good to like start with one customer, serve them like they are your only customer, and then the referrals will take over for you. I don't know if that makes sense.
It does. I think that's brilliant. I think that's very, very brilliant. Say that if you want to go fishing, try and go for a big fish. I think that's really good. Ayakule has his hand up, but I'm going to take a question and I would come to you. Oluwa Korede, he says, with the economy getting worse, Nigeria, for example, how would new companies be able to sustain themselves if there's a demand for a product or service, but people just can't adequately afford them?
Sorry, let me read the question because I didn't understand it fully.
Okay, he said that with the economy getting worse, Nigeria, for example, how would new companies be able to sustain themselves if there is a demand for a product or a service, but people just can't adequately afford
Ah,
them?
well, demand is um demand is want that's backed by cash, based on the one they taught
Mm.
me in economics. So if people cannot afford them, there's no demand
No
because
demand.
as, as you see me like this, there's demand for private jets, but I can't afford it. You understand what I'm saying? So I think you need to rethink how you built your product. Sometimes it's a function of how you build. So for example, you may be charging like instead of charging transactionally for a product, you're charging you're charging like maybe monthly. You understand what I'm saying? Or you're charging upfront. So for example, let's use the example of Airbnb versus renting, right? You know, there is demand for house. You understand? But the demand for house is different from the demand for Airbnb. You understand what I'm trying to say? Somebody has, $5,000 or whatever that they want to spend on rent for 12 months. Another person just has $30 a night. Do you understand what I'm saying? So both of them is demand, but they are demand for different things. If you confuse demand for the person that has money for $30 a night with the demand for housing, you'll be bankrupt. So it's just important for you to balance the two and figure out who is your demand really from. You understand? If your demand is from people who are poor but they can't afford it, then ask yourself, how can you help them afford it? Do you understand what I'm saying? Whether by making the time, making it more transactional revenue, reducing the time horizon within which they can access your product, etc.
Mm, mm. Yeah, I think that's good. I think that's even revisiting the model. Lots of companies have had to do that. I know now so many products come in sachets. It's not because they necessarily wanted to do that in the beginning, but they looked at how people spend, how people earn, and they had to adjust. So it's just being able to review that. Ayakunle, your hand is up. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thanks, Nkechi. I'm Ayokunle, founder of Melon, and Melon is a data reporting a collation platform. So, with regards our customer base, basically, it's a B2B business. We're currently building the platform right now, and we have a customer base of private companies, venture capitalists, impact investors, non-profit organizations. But one of our customers that we envisage that we would work with are government institutions. I mean, government parastatals, state institutions, and all that. My question for you is, what's just give like, can you give like a general approach of what it is to work with governments with regards to technology? What's their level of adoption? And I mean, just a general feedback, basically, because we see them as an important customer or user, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one has to adopt sort of a partnership approach when it comes to partners like government. And there are a few things that you must understand about the way they work. So first of all, it has to be beneficial to them at a top line level. That's just English for, is it bringing them money? You understand? If it's not bringing them money, then if it's going to take money from them, you have a big problem on your hands. Because getting money out of the Nigerian government is like fighting 10 wars. Good luck to you. Second
Okay.
question. Is there a way you can charge people for the service and share the revenue with government for you to get paid? Do you understand?
Okay.
So if there is no way for you to charge people for the service so that you can get paid, then you now share the revenue with governments. You are unlikely to make a lot of traction with governments.
Okay.
You understand? Then the third thing is that beyond the transaction of delivering the service, what does government stand to benefit long term overall, particularly politically?
Okay.
Do you understand? How can they get a political gain out of the thing you are proposing for them? So those are the ways that government tends to think about its role, and whenever it adopts technology, it's typically with a view to making money from adopting technology. You understand? And with a view to earning political points from adopting technology.
Okay.
The rest of it is really a question of now your relationship skills, your soft skills, your ability to build consensus with different agencies, your ability to manage stakeholders, and so on and so forth. I don't know
Okay.
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. It does. Except the second one, I'm just thinking about. I mean, we're building something that allows them to monitor projects. For example, let's say the state government, Ministry of Works, tries to monitor projects that they are doing for different contractors, and I'm trying to see how they can make money from that.
Can the contractors pay for it in order to unlock their milestone payments?
Okay. Okay.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because government will not pay you for it. So the contractor, if you say, look, contractor, we have given you $100 million contract. For us to be paying you the milestone, use this software or this service to monitor your project. So that is a third party that is monitoring the project.
Okay.
We'll remove 5 million from your money. You know,
Okay.
and out of that 5 million, 1 million will go to you, 4 million will go to government.
Yeah, that makes
You
a lot of
understand
sense.
now?
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Awesome.
You're welcome.
Awesome.
You're only getting these tips because you are part of, you're a Titan. Normally, I charge money. I charge money for this, but you people have paid your $100, so I will leave it like that.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Okay. Jonathan has a question. He says that would you be interested in investing in a retail tech startup? You have a few in your portfolio.
Yeah, well, I mean, to be honest, not out of our next fund, and right now we're out of funds. We're not investing right now because we finished deploying the funds that we raised before. So we're raising our next fund. I think there are other firms that will focus on retail tech. I don't know that we will, but it really depends. So, I mean, reach out through Nkechi. Let's see. We have a very specific thesis on retail tech and retail in general. So, depending on whether it fits that thesis, we'll see.
Yeah. I put my email in the comments. I'll put it again. You can reach out to me. Solomon is asking, would you invest in a B2B crypto startup at this time?
Yeah, actually, we're just about to do that. But typically, we have a bias for stable coins. We're not very big crypto people, but we care a lot about stable coins. Sometimes you might be persuaded to invest in a startup that has figured out alternatives. So if they're able to actually show that they have a track record of investing in proper coins, not shit coins, or proper coins and all that, as an alternative investment scheme, then we might look at it. But it's highly unlikely.
Awesome. Olaruwaju, your hand is up. You can go ahead and ask your question. Olaruwaju, are you able to speak? We can't hear you. Okay, could be technical difficulties because I noticed he put his hand up, came down, up. Okay, whenever he's able to speak. So Stanley has a question. He said, when you talk about customers, what should a startup do when they haven't launched their first product that they have been developing for 2 years and have almost 1,000 people on their wait list? Can they be considered customers too? I think the definition of customer is really rough. It's really a topic.
So can who be considered customers too?
The people on his wait list. Like he has about 1,000 people on his wait list. He's been building his product for 2 years. They haven't launched yet. So he's asking if the people on the wait list can be
customers are people who are paying for your product. Just to be clear. So if you're not paying, you're not customers.
I think that's a very important distinction. Yeah. Okay. So Stanley, I hope that answers your question. I don't know if you have any other points, but I don't think they can be considered customers if they haven't paid. There's a question from Cesare. He says, what will it take the next biotech startup, say a bioagriculture, to be based in a newfangled jurisdiction in Nigeria and generate adoption rather than a top tier city, say through SAPs? I don't know if that's clear. Is it clear?
Okay,
Ian,
are
or do
you
want
are you
to
repeating it again? No,
Cesare,
can you
I think you
please
could. Cesare, I think you could ask your question because even I'm struggling to understand it. Cesare.
Yeah. Okay. My question is, what will take the next biotech startup to you know to s- to situate in a special agro-processing zone in Nigeria and to generate adoption, especially in bioagriculture, where you can engineer the GMO of, say, of a potato into to rice to prevent eye defect and some other typical challenges like that, health challenges like that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you can get some land in Itana and get it done. So I'm sure the first step is to become an Itana resident so that you can do it. We actually have some. We have some. I think Lofty Inc. has this Center for Agricultural Research that's also coming. Should probably reach out to them. So there's quite a number of avenues, but I don't know much about the space you're specifically talking about. You know, but it'll be interesting. I mean, I know IIT is a beautiful research facility for this sort of stuff. I'm wondering why can't it work in IIT?
Yeah, it could. They're quite good, IITA. So that's one to Cesare. Maybe you could, check their website. I know someone who works there if you want me to connect you. I think that's important. Stanley, you have your hand up. Do you want to clarify, add some points to the question you asked before?
Yes, yes, yes. So I just wanted to confirm. So what should a startup do while they're actually working on their product? Like I said earlier, we've been working on our product for 2 years. We are actually a technological company for the cannabis industry in Africa. We're a B2B startup company. So we've been building and we've been trying a whole lot with marketing and yes, and reaching to customers, investors, and all. But I don't know, what do you think a startup can do? Pending when the product will be fully launched.
What I mean, I don't know where in Africa are you? Because if it's Nigeria, it's not even legal. So what's the plan?
No, it's not. It's not Nigeria. We are actually in South Africa and Ghana for now because
Okay,
they have legalized cannabis.
So what are you trying to do exactly?
Okay, so what we're trying to do is we're trying to build digitalized cannabis businesses because we found out that there are lots of cannabis businesses in South Africa, Zimbabwe, Ghana, Lesotho, Zambia, a whole lot, because these countries have legalized cannabis either medically or industrially. So we want to provide technology for them to be able to grow their business and reach out to the world. Right now, we are working on our mobile application, which also comes with a SaaS suite where they can be able to
How many of those customers do you have? How many of them do you have as customers, paying customers?
For now, we've not started charging because our platform is not launched out. It's not launched yet, so we've not.
How many of them do you have as customers, even as free customers? How many of them are using your software?
Yeah, for now, just about 20.
So 20 of them are using your software today?
Yes.
Okay, what are they using your software for?
Okay, they use it to get more customers, sell their products, manage their products, and we're also trying to build more products for them, like the CRM, data analytics, and so a whole lot.
Look, I think given the amount of work, so let me tell you the secret of customer acquisition. And this is something that goes for a number of questions I'm seeing, you know. The secret of customer acquisition is to work with only one customer. Like literally work with one customer like you are a contractor, then replicate everything that you learn from that customer for the next customer. And that becomes your product. Do you understand? Never
Yeah.
build, and that one customer must be a paying customer. Either they're paying or you're finding a business model that would allow them to pay. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes. I get you.
So that's my advice.
Okay. All right. All right. No problem. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks a lot.
I think that's very important actually. Because some people build products in secret and hope that when they launch it,
Silos.
everyone will love it. Yeah. And you would have made mistakes. You'd suffer and build something and then you take it out and people are like, oh, we don't want this or we don't want it this way. And there's a whole lot of work that's gone into it. But if they're part of the process, then already you're getting better, you're getting new versions out, improving along the way. So don't build in secret. It's never beneficial
Yeah,
to do that.
never works. Never works.
Yeah, yeah. Build in public. I'll put that on a t-shirt.
Always build
Build
in
in
public.
public. Yeah. Um, Okwe is asking, what is the best point to raise capital for growth for a business that is currently self-funded and has revenue? You already have money.
That's a great question. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the best time to raise capital is, you know, when you've gotten to the point where you can significantly accelerate your business, right? And you have an offer that is that prices in that growth. You get what I'm saying? At a multiple of today's value. So, for example, you know, if you are running a business, I usually think that number where you can determine how your business is growing is about $1 million from experience. So if I have a business that's growing and is at $1 million, and I look at the unit economics and I see that I
Is that
actually have
ARR? 1M ARR?
ARR, yes, ARR.
Okay.
So I look at the unit economics and I see that actually I have a way of like getting to a loop, but I need some infrastructure investments or something like that to further reduce my cost or to build a new product offering. Then I would raise capital just so that I can double my rate of growth or triple my rate of growth by investing in that infrastructure or building that new product. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. It does. I think there's a deep dive there that we could get into in the future.
Yeah, huge deep dive. We can talk about it
Yeah.
later.
Yeah, because there's so much content there. Like you said it very simply, but I know that there's a lot of some people may not even understand it, but there's a lot of content there, like a lot of dissecting, especially for founders that are trying to raise funding. Raising funding is a different ball game. And one of the things that gets in people's way is that they truly don't even understand the process. They don't even understand the best way to position themselves for what they're trying to achieve. So I think there's a lot of content there in itself.
Yes, yes.
Olaruwaju, you have your hand up. Um, you can go ahead and ask your question if you can speak. I think he's struggling with it. Okay, Olajide Phillips, you have your hand up. You can ask your question. We'll take about 2 or so more questions before we wrap up.
All right, thank you, Kichi. So I just want to ask this question. So we currently pivoting to social commerce. So I want to ask that do you invest in social commerce platform? We started as an e-learning platform in 2020, and we are about paying customers about 5,000 of them in 24 countries. So we've seen the need with them that they always want to sell something on the platform regardless of what we're doing. So we currently pivoting to social commerce platform where all our users not only learn but can also access to other products and service on our platform. So I don't know if you
Okay.
do invest in your portfolio.
Yeah, it's unlikely we would invest in social learning or social commerce. We just don't understand it well enough. But I'm sure there's probably something there, but we don't know it very well. So we're, we're not likely to invest today, but you never know. If it
Yeah,
has a lot of traction, we'll take a look.
if it's enticing enough. But I think that this is another very interesting point. I think this is another interesting point. I think it's always important for founders to find the right investors. And one thing that I've noticed you do is if it's something that they're not very keen on or they don't have enough expertise, he'll straight up tell you. And that's something that's really important. Sometimes speaking to the right investors, there are certain things you tell E and his eyes would open wide because he's so excited because that's an area that they are interested in. So for something like that, finding the right investors, even finding the right people to ask the right questions would be very useful.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, there's a question here from, so I'm going to take two more questions from Sylvia and then from Tony. So Sylvia is asking, what criteria does a product or innovative idea have to meet to obtain a patent in Nigeria? Have you done patents before?
That's a very interesting question. I don't know, but I imagine that all over the world it's really about it being unique invention, right? That hasn't been done before. But I don't really know. The last time I did anything with a patent was with Pivot capture. Yeah. But yeah, there was no yeah. I don't know very much about that world.
Sylvia,
That's an
maybe I
interesting
would,
one.
maybe I'll pass you on to Rosemond or Olaleye. There are few lawyers in the community. You can send them a message on Slack and they will be able to guide you. This is something
I
that I
got
feel.
you.
Exactly. Rosemond is right here. Rosemond has your back.
I
She's a
got
startup
you.
lawyer. Okay, so reach out. So Tony's question will be the last question. He's saying he's a first-time founder here. He's sending you all the love in your journey. He's working on an agricultural supply chain management backed by blockchain and tech AI. I'm just going to put this caveat. Tony is super smart. He is very amazing in the community as well. So he's planning to
Yeah.
focus on Africa, precisely Ibadan first to test out his idea. So again, it's a pet project, but he's curious
Hmm.
on your advice or challenges that he might face or that he should be aware as a first-time founder.
Okay. Challenges. What does the business do again? Sorry.
Tony, can you speak?
Oh yeah, I can speak. So trying to I'm I'm trying to work on the agricultural supply chain. So the issue I kind of noticed was that like farmers because of the liquidity issue in Nigeria, I guess, farmers are kind of forced to sell their produce at a loss. Or sometimes at a loss, or if they don't sell it to middlemen quick, they might incur a loss. So I'm trying to kind of like X the farms in Ibadan, and then I can take a record of what they are planting before they start planting, because I know, okay, there's a time range for like the product to mature. Then I can get the market. Then I can get people to kind of like subscribe to these farms and monitor them before like the project matures, so that they don't have the issue of kind of like selling to middlemen. So I'm trying to like eliminate the middlemen and digital farmers market.
Okay.
Now
Okay.
I don't have much experience with like agricultural market in Nigeria because I don't live in Nigeria. But I'm kind of curious about what are some of the challenges I might face in this area.
Yeah, I mean you correctly identified one of them. You're not on the ground. So a lot is bound to happen, particularly fraud among the workers and so on, depending on what kind of culture you've managed to build. Um, hmm. But I think more generally, I mean, none of us like middlemen businesses. They just drive up costs unnecessarily. But I think it's more important for you to be more disciplined and focused in your choice of customer. So are you going to sell these tomatoes to restaurants, or are you selling them to individuals? Because those require two different types of approach.
So I wanted to start with like restaurants because I feel like they use some of these products more than individuals. So I'll start with restaurants and then eventually try to onboard more individuals.
Okay, it's doable. It's doable. I just think that if it was me, my approach to getting it done would have been more um, work with restaurants. You get what I'm trying to say? First, and then over time, you can find other particular segments, schools, hospitals, where they cook a lot of food, and then serve them separately. You know what I mean?
Yes. Okay. Okay. Because yeah, the problem I think it's going to solve is like food traceability. Because now when you're buying stuff on the market, right, you don't know
Yeah,
like where this food is coming from. Like this would definitely
exactly.
be a situation where people will kind of. I know it might not seem like an important thing, but you will know where your food is coming from. Like, okay, if I'm eating this apple, I know where this from.
Yeah,
It,
yeah. Yeah, I think that's like so, but you have to determine, do you want to be in the traceability side of the business or do you want to be in the distribution side of the business? Because they're two different businesses. But anyway, whatever the case, just think more carefully about it. It sounds doable. Question is, what will it take to get it done?
okay. Okay. Well, I appreciate you.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah, good.
Awesome. I'm sure he'll figure it out. So we're gonna wrap up now, but thank you so much for the questions that have been coming in. E, thank you so much for being a part of this. I know that you're so exhausted. I know I've basically dragged you out and gotten Lukman
No,
to
it's fine.
also. But we are
Fine.
so grateful. This has been so impactful. I have so many notes. I've learned so much. I was like, you can always tell when you're listening to a founder that has been through the mud and been through everything and had to learn from all the experience, and that's what this is. So thank you for taking out the time. I think we'll continue to build out what the potential founder support for the Itana digital residence would look like alongside Future Africa. For everyone that is
Yeah.
here, we truly appreciate you joining as well. You can put your thank yous to E in the comment. I think that would be really amazing. I always believe in sending flowers and lots of love to people. Thank you everyone for
Amazing.
being here. Thank you for the amazing questions that you've asked. If you're building a business, we are supporting you all the way. We hope you build something great. We hope that you get all the support, all the great customers, and all the revenue, and we get to celebrate that success as you do that. Thank you for being here. I'm going to send follow-up information after this session. Again, I have put the link for people that want to apply to become digital residents. If you haven't completed that process, I'm going to send more information so that you can join and be a part of the next onboarding. The next onboarding will happen in
And
January.
KG, before you everyone starts going off, I don't know. I mean, I had to jump off the call a bit, and I don't know if it was also mentioned in this group, right, where as part of the cool things we're doing with the Itana, Itana hopefully by end of Q1 will be the first digital free zone in Africa, right, where people can come online, register, and get the benefits of being a free zone enterprise, which is zero corporate tax, zero tax on dividends, open your bank accounts, whether it's offshore banking, do your business visas and such. That is like the first, but that's the first value add that Itana wants to bring to the tech ecosystem in Nigeria and Africa, right? So you guys, it took us a long while getting all the approvals from the federal government, building out the technology, which we're still doing. But that's one of the pretty cool things that, and I said, big picture, our goal, E and I, and Nkechi and Coco that was on this call, is building the ideal environment for tech, right, to thrive, whether it's digital products, whether it's physical spaces, right, where we're being very, that is the big picture, right? What do we need to do to help you, right? And the first thing is the digital governance, right? Creating the ideal business environment for your businesses to operate in Africa, whether it's to scale or or to operate, right? And hopefully by end of Q1, we'll be able to deliver that for you guys. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that was there. Become a digital resident, right? I think that Nkechi put up the link. Apply, and then you guys can obviously be up to speed with all the stuff that we're doing in Itana. My name is Lukman, by the way. I'm the quiet one.
Yeah, that's Lukman. Lukman is the quiet one, and to be honest, this stuff is
Lukman
very
is a money man.
He's a money. If there's anyone that you should learn how to engage with government with, is Lukman. If you can hold his Baba Riga following him, he'll teach you a lot. Trust me. But this is so exciting. We're going to share more details about it. I don't think even Lukman has done good justice into how amazing it is all the free trade zone benefits, being able to get it just like you don't even have to, like, you can just register digitally and enjoy those benefits. That is groundbreaking, and we're the first people that are doing it in Nigeria, and we're going to share more information, and we're going to roll it out in Q1, like he said.
First in Africa, oh, get it
First
right.
in Africa.
Nigeria.
First, sorry, I'm sorry. First in Africa. It's such an amazing deal.
Yeah,
And
it's
for
like
me,
there's Delaware for the US, there's Dubai for
exactly,
India, there's
exactly.
Estonia for Europe, but this will be the first in Africa.
Yes, yes, and it's so amazing. And I want to also thank the digital residents for being a part of this. We've had mastermind sessions on ways to design the governance, and the input has gone a long way in just helping us think and shape our thinking. Again, I just want to say, if you haven't completed the process to become a digital resident, I don't know what you're waiting for, but I've shared the link. We want you to be a part of this because we want to be able to create this future together, and we'll send follow-up information. So with that, thank you everyone for being here. We truly appreciate you. All the wonderful faces. Demi, you shout out. I like your cap. Looks great. Thank you everyone, and enjoy the rest of your evening. We'll see you all on Slack. Bye everyone.